Good evening, everyone. Let me ask you a simple question. What is the difference between living and truly being alive? Most people exist, but very few experience the real joy of living. Life is like a treasure box, but the tragedy is many people hold the box without ever unlocking it. Today, I want to share with you 10 golden keys for life. Principles that will not just open the treasure box, but also unlock happiness, peace, and fulfillment within you. These are not just theories, these are truths tested by time and lived by wise souls. If you can hold on to these 10 golden keys, your journey through life will never be the same again. Gratitude is not just a word we say, it is a lifestyle we live. So many times in life, we are conditioned to focus on what we don't have, on what is missing, on what didn't go our way. And because of that, our hearts feel empty. But gratitude is that shift of perspective where we deliberately choose to recognize the countless blessings that surround us every single day. Think about it. When you woke up this morning, your eyes opened, your lungs breathed, your heart beat, and yet we take all of this for granted. There are people who went to sleep last night and never saw today, but you did. Isn't that enough reason to begin your day with gratitude? The problem is, our minds are trained to look at what went wrong, a small discomfort, a little delay, a disappointment in work or relationships. And very quickly, we forget that 90% of things in our life are functioning perfectly well. Gratitude allows us to see that 90%, to rejoice in it, and to stop magnifying the 10% that's not working. Gratitude is not about ignoring problems, it is about shifting the focus. When we practice gratitude, we are not denying pain. We are reminding ourselves that joy exists alongside pain and blessings exist alongside challenges. The one who practices gratitude walks into life like a king because he already feels rich. Rich not in money, but in the wealth of contentment. Gratitude is a magnet for joy. When you are thankful, you naturally attract more reasons to be thankful. Have you noticed when you say thank you to someone, their heart opens, their smile widens, and they feel encouraged to do more for you? The same way, when you express gratitude to life, to God, to people around you, it seems as if life itself conspires to give you even more. If you want to experience the power of gratitude, make it a daily habit. Before you sleep at night, don't count sheep, count blessings. Think of at least 3 things that happened in the day that you can be grateful for. It could be as simple as a warm meal, a kind word from a friend, or the strength to overcome a challenge. And in the morning, instead of rushing to your phone or emails, pause for a moment and thank life for the gift of a new day. Gratitude is like watering a plant. Whatever you water grows. If you water discontent, it grows into frustration. If you water gratitude, it grows into joy. Let me tell you this. Gratitude transforms the same situation into a different experience. A poor man with gratitude may feel richer than a millionaire who is constantly complaining. A family that eats simple food with love and thankfulness can feel more satisfied than those who sit at lavish banquets but carry resentment in their hearts. Gratitude is that secret ingredient that turns little into enough and more. When we look back in life, the moments that brought us peace were not always when we had more, but when we appreciated what we had. So, if you want to unlock the treasure of happiness in life, start with gratitude. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Because gratitude does not just change the way you look at life, it changes the way life looks at you. Purpose is the fuel of the human soul. Without it, life feels like a long, endless road with no destination. We may wake up every morning, go through our routines, work, eat, sleep, and repeat the same cycle day after day. But without purpose, all of this becomes monotonous, empty, and exhausting. Purpose is what gives meaning to our existence. It is that invisible compass that directs our energy, focuses our time, and pushes us to rise above comfort. Many people confuse purpose with goals, but goals are temporary milestones, while purpose is the deeper reason why those goals even matter. If goals are like stepping stones, purpose is the river that gives those stones meaning. Every great life, every extraordinary story has one thing in common: purpose. Look at history, at leaders, saints, inventors, reformers. They were not just busy, they were driven. They did not wake up every morning simply to earn a paycheck or survive another day. They lived for something higher than themselves. And that higher calling gave them resilience in failure, clarity in confusion, and courage in fear. Without purpose, even small problems can break us, but with purpose, even the biggest storms can be faced with strength. So, how do we find this purpose? It is not something handed to you like a gift. It is something discovered through reflection and sincerity. Sometimes it comes from your talents, sometimes from your pain, sometimes from your love for others. A person who has suffered often feels called to help others not suffer in the same way. A person blessed with unique skills may feel inspired to use them in service. Purpose is not about what you take from life, it is about what you give to life. When you live only for yourself, life becomes narrow and small. But when you live for something bigger than yourself, your family, your community, your values, or your faith, life suddenly expands with meaning. Think about it: money can buy you comfort, status can give you attention, but neither will give you peace if you don't know why you exist. A person with no purpose can have everything yet feel empty. On the other hand, a person with a clear purpose can have very little and still feel fulfilled because they know they are walking a meaningful path. Imagine two people climbing a mountain. One climbs simply because others are climbing, and after a while he feels tired, discouraged, and asks, "Why am I doing this?" The other climbs because he knows there is a flag at the top, and that flag represents his dreams, his service, his destiny. Even when exhausted, he pushes on because his eyes are fixed on that flag. That is the difference purpose makes. It gives meaning to the struggle. When you find your purpose, your life shifts. Work is no longer just work, it becomes a mission. Challenges no longer feel like punishments, they feel like training. Even setbacks become stepping stones because you know they are shaping you for something greater. A person of purpose does not quit easily because quitting is like betraying their own soul. If you want to live with purpose, start by asking yourself, what truly matters to me? What impact do I want to leave on the world when I am gone? If people remembered me one day, what would I want them to say about me? These questions take you closer to your deeper calling. And remember, purpose does not always have to be grand or world-changing in scale. It could be as simple as raising your children with love, serving your community, being honest in your work, or inspiring one person every day, the size of the purpose is not important, the sincerity behind it is. Living with purpose turns every day into a gift. You no longer live by chance, you live by choice. You no longer waste time because you know every moment counts. You no longer envy others because you are deeply content walking your unique path. And most importantly, purpose connects you to a higher power because you realize you are not here by accident. You are here for a reason. When your heart beats with purpose, you are no longer just alive, you are truly living. And that, my friends, is the beginning of a life that inspires not only yourself, but also everyone around you. Relationships are the fabric that weaves our lives together. No matter how successful, wealthy, or talented we become, if our relationships are broken, life feels empty. Imagine standing at the peak of success, but having no one to share the view with. What joy is there in that? Human beings are not designed to live in isolation. We are wired for connection, for love, for companionship, and for community. The greatest happiness in life often comes not from achievements, but from the bonds we nurture with people around us. Relationships give us meaning, they give us belonging, and they give us a reason to smile even in the darkest of times. Yet, relationships also test us. They demand patience, sacrifice, and understanding. The truth is, many people today value things over people. We chase money, gadgets, positions, and possessions, but forget that none of these can replace a loving heart beside us. When people are ignored in pursuit of things, life becomes hollow. At the end of the day, your phone cannot hug you, your car cannot listen to your problems, and your bank account cannot wipe your tears. Only people can. And therefore, valuing relationships is one of the most important keys to living a fulfilled life. Strong relationships are built on three pillars: love, respect, and kindness. Love without respect becomes suffocating. Respect without kindness feels cold, and kindness without love can seem distant. But when all three are present, relationships flourish. Small gestures of care, a word of appreciation, or even just listening without judgment can strengthen bonds in ways we often underestimate. People don't always remember what we said, but they always remember how we made them feel. If we leave people feeling valued, respected, and loved, we have succeeded in building true relationships. Conflict, of course, is inevitable. No two people think the same, feel the same, or act the same. But conflict does not have to destroy relationships if handled with wisdom. In fact, it can deepen them. When we learn to disagree with respect, when we prioritize the bond over the argument, we create space for growth. Sometimes, winning an argument is less important than winning a heart. Apologizing does not always mean you are wrong. It often means you value the relationship more than your ego. And forgiveness is the glue that keeps relationships together. Holding grudges only poisons our own hearts, while forgiveness frees us to love again. Think about the times when someone stood by you in your lowest moment. You may forget 1,000 ordinary days, but that one gesture of support is forever engraved in your memory. That is the power of relationships. They become anchors when storms hit. You can be weak, you can cry, you can fail, but when someone holds your hand and says, "I am with you," suddenly the burden feels lighter. That strength cannot be bought, it can only be nurtured. Our greatest regrets at the end of life are rarely about the money we didn't earn or the possessions we didn't buy. They are often about the people we lost, the time we didn't spend, and the words of love we left unspoken. How many of us postpone saying, I love you, I forgive you, or thank you, believing we have endless time? But life is fragile. One day the chance will be gone, and all that will remain are memories. So, do not wait to value people. Value them while they are still here. Relationships are not about perfection, they are about presence. You don't need to do grand things to show your love. Sometimes just being there is enough. Sitting with someone silently, giving them your time, showing interest in their life, or offering a listening ear can mean more than expensive gifts. True wealth in life is measured not by the size of our bank balance, but by the depth of our relationships. If you want to live a meaningful life, learn to put people before things. Take care of your relationships like you take care of your most precious possession. Invest in them, nurture them, and protect them, because in the end, when everything else fades, it is the people who walked beside us, who laughed with us, who cried with us, and who loved us that make life beautiful. A life well lived is not counted in achievements, but in relationships cherished. Self-discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Everyone has desires, everyone has ambitions, but very few have the discipline to make them happen. Without discipline, talent remains untapped, potential remains dormant, and intentions remain unfulfilled. It is easy to say, I want to achieve this, I want to become that. But the real question is, are you willing to put in the consistent effort, the sacrifices, and the perseverance required? Discipline is not about restricting your life, it is about directing your life. It gives you control, it gives you strength, and it gives you the power to move steadily toward your goals even when your emotions fluctuate. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Our minds are constantly pulled in 100 different directions. Social media, entertainment, endless notifications, and tempting shortcuts. Without self-discipline, we become slaves to our impulses. We scroll instead of studying, we procrastinate instead of acting, we indulge instead of controlling. And slowly, without realizing, time slips away, opportunities fade, and regrets pile up. But the disciplined person understands that small daily choices shape a destiny. They are willing to delay instant gratification for long-term fulfillment. They can say no to what is easy and yes to what is right. Discipline is not about punishing yourself. It is about training yourself. Just like a muscle, the more you practice discipline, the stronger it becomes. Think of an athlete. They wake up early, follow strict diets, endure pain in training, and make sacrifices that ordinary people avoid. Why? Because they have a vision of victory that keeps them focused. The same applies to every area of life. If you want health, discipline in your eating and exercise is essential. If you want success, discipline in your work habits and time management is non-negotiable. If you want spiritual growth, discipline in your prayers, meditation, or practices is what deepens your connection. Without discipline, even the noblest goals remain wishes. But discipline is not always about doing more. Sometimes it is about doing less. It is about controlling your urges, mastering your habits, and breaking free from harmful patterns. It is about setting boundaries with yourself and knowing when to stop. True discipline is not just about the external world, it is about mastering the internal one. It is about ruling your mind instead of being ruled by it. Most people say, I cannot control my anger, my laziness, my cravings. But with discipline, you learn that you are not a slave to your emotions. You are their master, and that mastery is what brings dignity and strength to life. One of the greatest enemies of discipline is excuses. Excuses sound convincing in the moment. They justify our laziness, our procrastination, our neglect. But in reality, excuses steal our future. The disciplined person does not wait for motivation because they know motivation is temporary. Motivation is like a spark, it excites you for a while, but it fades. Discipline is like fuel, it keeps the fire burning steadily even when excitement is gone. If you only work when you feel inspired, you will never accomplish much. But if you work with discipline, even on the days you feel tired or uninspired, you build momentum that takes you forward. Discipline also requires balance. It is not about being harsh on yourself. It is about being consistent. Sometimes people burn out because they mistake discipline for rigidity. True discipline allows rest, joy, and relaxation, but within boundaries. It is not about removing happiness, it is about removing chaos. A disciplined life is not boring, it is actually freeing. When you are disciplined, you are not controlled by cravings, impulses, or distractions. You are in control, and that control gives you freedom, peace, and self-respect. Look at the most successful people in any field, and you will see discipline at the core of their journey. Behind every great achievement lies countless hours of unseen effort, routines followed faithfully, and sacrifices made quietly. People admire the results, but forget the discipline that produced them. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is not loud, but it is effective. And while talent may set you apart for a while, discipline will sustain you for a lifetime. If you want to change your life, do not wait for miracles. Build discipline. Start small. Wake up a little earlier. Control one habit at a time. Follow through on small commitments. And gradually you will see how your inner strength grows. The disciplined person does not ask, will this be easy? They ask, will this be worth it? And when the answer is yes, they keep moving forward regardless of obstacles. A life without discipline is like a ship without a captain, tossed around by every wave. But a life with discipline is like a ship with a steady hand at the wheel, navigating storms, moving forward, and reaching the harbor of its destiny. In the end, discipline is love, the love you show to your future self by choosing what is right today. Positivity is not pretending everything is perfect. It is the steady decision to see clearly and then choose hope. It is not about denying pain or painting a fake smile over a broken heart. It is about holding both truth and possibility in your hands at the same time. When life hits you with setbacks, positivity doesn't say the hurt isn't real. It says, this hurts, and I will not let this define the rest of my story. It is the difference between being tossed around by every emotion like a leaf in the wind and being the person who notices the wind, adjusts the sail, and keeps moving forward. Think of positivity as sunlight for the mind. When your inner weather is cloudy, everything looks muted, opportunities vanish into shadows, and even small tasks feel heavy. But when the inner weather clears just a little, when you find a thread of good, however small, Colors return, tasks become possible again, and other people respond differently to you. Positivity is contagious in the best way. Your mood influences the people around you, and their responses influence your mood back. A kind word, a calm face, a steady voice, these tiny signals ripple through a room and change the atmosphere. This is why positivity is not selfish, it is a public good. When you choose to be positive, you give permission to others to breathe easier, to hope again, and to act. Cultivating positivity is a practice, not a personality trait. It begins with small habits that rewire how your mind looks for meaning. Instead of starting your day by scrolling through worry, making headlines, start it by naming something simple that is good: the warmth of a cup in your hand, the sound of birds, the roof over your head. When negative thoughts arrive, as they inevitably will, treat them like visitors greet them, listen briefly, and then guide them to the door. Ask yourself honest questions that move you forward. What can I learn from this? What is one small step I can take right now? Reframing does not remove difficulty, but it changes the frame, and often the frame is what determines whether we become discouraged or determined. Language matters. The words you use about yourself and your circumstances shape your inner story. Replace absolute statements like, "I always fail," with observations like, "I struggled this time and I can improve." Replace "I can't" with "I haven't yet." These small shifts are not sugarcoating, they are accuracy. They widen the space between who you are now and who you might become, which is where change lives. Equally important is the inner tone. Be firm, not cruel, honest, not defeated. Speak to yourself like you would speak to someone you love. Positivity also requires fierce realism. It is not optimism that shades the facts, it is courage that engages them. That means facing problems with clear eyes and then choosing the next right action. When a relationship fractures, positivity will admit the pain and also look for ways to heal or set healthy boundaries. When work becomes overwhelming, positivity helps you prioritize, ask for help, and take one step rather than collapse under the weight of everything at once. It turns paralysis into process. Surroundings shape the mind. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, and even the clutter on your desk influence whether your mental climate is sunny or stormy. Choose companions who lift you, not those who drain you. Limit content that breeds fear, comparison, or outrage. Create little rituals that anchor your day in calm. A 5-minute breath before meetings, a short walk after lunch, a nightly pause where you name 3 small things that went well. These rituals are not dramatic, they are pipelines that carry positivity into ordinary life. Generosity and laughter are twin allies of positivity. When you serve others, something paradoxical happens. Your own problems shrink to the size of life's larger tapestry, and your heart expands. Laughter, meanwhile, is a reset button. It doesn't solve every issue, but it reminds you that you are human and that pain and joy can coexist. Learn to laugh at your mistakes without belittling yourself. Learn to serve without losing yourself. Both actions keep the heart soft and the mind nimble. Resilience and patience are part of the package. Positivity is patient with the process. It knows growth is incremental. It resists the instant, fixed mentality and understands that real change usually looks slow from the inside, but transformative from the outside. Failures become feedback. Setbacks are training ground. When you stay positive in small, consistent ways, you build an inner bank of strength that you can withdraw from when storms come. Finally, make positivity a practice of gratitude and action. Gratitude tunes your attention to what is present, while action moves you toward what can be. At night, list the moments, small or large, that were kind to you. In the morning, decide on one tiny action that aligns with your values. Over time, the compound effect is astonishing. Small, grateful eyes plus small, determined steps equal a life that bends toward hope. Choose positivity not as an escape from reality, but as a way to meet reality bravely. It will not make life perfect, but it will make you more useful, more joyful, and more present. In the end, positivity is a gift you give yourself and the world. A clear gaze, a steady heart, and the quiet conviction that even when the road is hard, your steps still matter. Her learning is the secret that keeps life fresh, meaningful, and alive. The moment we stop learning, we stop growing, and the moment we stop growing, we begin to decline inwardly, even if we look successful outwardly. From the day we are born until the day we leave this world, life offers us endless lessons. In classrooms, in conversations, in victories, in failures, in joy, and in suffering. But many people make the mistake of believing that education ends when school ends, or that wisdom belongs only to books. The truth is, every day is a classroom if we have the humility to be students, and every person, no matter how young or old, has something to teach us if we are willing to listen. Learning is not just about gathering information, it is about transformation. It is about opening our minds, stretching our perspectives, and deepening our understanding of ourselves, others, and the world. Information may fill the head, but learning fills the soul. That is why someone can have degrees, titles, and positions, yet still lack wisdom in their choices. And someone with little formal education can still radiate extraordinary insight because they chose to learn from life itself. Real learning is not measured in certificates. It is measured in how you live differently after the lesson. The first quality needed for learning is humility. A proud person believes they know everything and therefore closes the door to growth. But a humble person knows that no matter how much they understand, it is still only a drop in the ocean of knowledge. Humility keeps you curious, keeps you listening, and keeps you improving. Think about a glass of water that is already full. Nothing more can be added. But an empty glass welcomes more. In the same way, a mind and heart that remain empty of arrogance can keep receiving wisdom. Learning also requires openness to mistakes. Many people fear failure so much that they avoid trying new things. But the truth is, some of the greatest lessons in life come through mistakes. When you fall, you discover strength you didn't know you had. When you lose, you discover strategies you didn't realize you needed. Every mistake carries within it a message, but only learners are willing to read it. Instead of saying, "I failed," the learner says, "I discovered what doesn't work," and that is also progress. This mindset turns obstacles into opportunities and struggles into stepping stones. One of the most powerful ways to learn is through listening. Most of us listen to reply, not to understand. But if we slow down, pay attention, and really absorb what others are sharing, we unlock treasures that we could never find alone. Listening to elders gives us the benefit of their experience without paying the price ourselves. Listening to children reminds us of simplicity, curiosity, and imagination that adults often lose. Listening to friends, mentors, and even critics can open windows into aspects of ourselves we may be blind to. Everyone you meet knows something you don't. So, every interaction is an opportunity to learn. Learning is also a discipline of the mind. Just as the body grows stronger with exercise, the mind grows sharper with practice. Reading books, studying ideas, reflecting deeply, and engaging in meaningful dialogue all keep the mind active and alive. But more important than collecting knowledge is applying it. Knowledge without action is like food stored in the fridge. It has potential, but it nourishes no one until it is eaten. When we apply what we learn, when we turn insight into habit, then learning becomes wisdom. Another dimension of learning is learning from suffering. Pain teaches lessons that comfort never can. Illness teaches us to value health. Loss teaches us to cherish presence. Struggles teach us patience, endurance, and faith. While none of us desire hardship, those who have eyes to learn in hardship come out wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. Life's hardest chapters often carry its most transformative teachings if we are willing to see beyond the pain. In the journey of learning, we must also guard against the arrogance of partial knowledge. Sometimes we learn a little and think we know it all. This creates more harm than ignorance. True learners know that the more they discover, the more they realize how much remains unexplored. The wisest people often speak with the greatest humility because they see how vast truth really is. Learning never ends because life never stops teaching. The world is constantly changing, technology evolves, cultures shift, challenges emerge, and those who refuse to keep learning soon find themselves left behind. But those who adapt, who remain curious, and who continue to grow stay relevant, effective, and alive in every season of life. A young person who keeps learning is prepared for the future. An older person who keeps learning stays youthful in spirit. So, learning is not a phase, it is a lifelong commitment. It is not a burden, but a privilege. Every sunrise is a reminder that you are alive, and therefore you still have something new to discover. The most beautiful part of learning is that it keeps the heart humble, the mind sharp, and the spirit alive. It transforms ordinary days into opportunities and ordinary people into extraordinary souls. And when you leave this world, the true measure of your life will not be how much you earned or owned, but how much you grew, how much you shared, and how much you learned along the way. Service is one of the highest expressions of the human spirit. When we live only for ourselves, life becomes small, confined, and shallow. But the moment we step beyond the boundaries of our own needs and begin to think about how we can contribute to others, life suddenly expands. It gains depth, richness, and a sense of meaning that nothing else can provide. Serving others is not about charity alone, nor is it about grand gestures that the world applauds. True service is often quiet, unnoticed, and simple. It is the smile you offer to a stranger, the time you give to listen to someone in pain, the help you extend without expecting anything in return. These acts may seem small, but they carry an energy that heals, uplifts, and transforms lives in ways we cannot even measure. Service begins with empathy. To serve means to feel the heart of another, to put yourself in their place, and to see life from their perspective. It is the ability to look beyond your own struggles and recognize that others are also carrying burdens. Sometimes the heaviest thing a person carries is not visible, but when someone takes a moment to acknowledge them, to care, to stand beside them, the weight becomes lighter. Service is not always about solving someone's problem completely. It is often about showing them that they are not alone in their problem. There is a misconception that service requires wealth or position. But service is not measured by how much you give. It is measured by how much love you put into giving. A rich person may donate millions, but if done without compassion, it may not touch a heart. A poor person may offer a glass of water to someone thirsty, and that small act may carry more meaning than the millions. Service is never about quantity, it is about quality. It is not about how much you give, but how much of yourself you give. Serving others also has a mysterious way of healing us. When we are lost in our own troubles, when we feel burdened by our own challenges, helping someone else shifts our perspective. Suddenly we realize that our problems are not as unbearable as we imagined, and our hearts become lighter because we have done something meaningful for someone else. In lifting others, we often find that we are being lifted ourselves. The joy that comes from service is deeper than the joy that comes from achievement or possession. Achievements fade, possessions lose their shine, but the memory of helping someone, of being part of their journey, stays forever. True service is done without expectation. If we serve to be praised, to be recognized, or to receive something in return, we reduce service into a transaction. But when we serve from the heart, simply because it is the right thing to do, it carries purity and power. Service is love in action. Love is a feeling, but service is love expressed through deeds. It is love made visible. And when love becomes visible, it inspires others, it multiplies, and it creates a chain reaction of goodness in the world. Service does not always mean doing something extraordinary. Sometimes it means doing ordinary things with extraordinary sincerity. Cooking a meal for your family with love is service. Offering your seat to someone tired is service. Teaching a child something valuable is service. Choosing kind words instead of harsh ones is service. Every day presents countless opportunities to serve if we keep our eyes open and our hearts soft. The world does not always need more brilliant minds, it needs more compassionate hearts. Another dimension of service is that it connects us to something higher than ourselves. When we serve selflessly, we align with the very essence of spirituality. Many traditions across the world speak of service as the path to God, because in serving others we see God reflected in them. When we wipe someone's tears, when we feed someone hungry, when we comfort someone broken, we are in fact honoring the divine presence within them. Service becomes sacred when we realize that by serving humanity, we are serving the Creator. At the same time, service requires balance. Serving others does not mean neglecting yourself. It does not mean burning out or losing your identity. True service is sustainable when it flows from a heart that is nourished and strong. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and therefore, taking care of yourself is also an act of service, because only then can you continue to give to others meaningfully. The beauty of service is that it transcends differences. It doesn't matter what language someone speaks, what religion they follow, or what status they hold. A kind act cuts through all barriers and touches the essence of humanity. Service reminds us that beneath all our labels, we are one human family. And in a world that is so often divided, service becomes a bridge that brings hearts together. If you want to leave behind a legacy that truly matters, let it not just be wealth or possessions, but acts of service. Long after your words are forgotten, long after your achievements are replaced by others, the kindness you offered, the lives you touched, and the hearts you healed will continue to live on. Service immortalizes you in the lives of others. It plants seeds that grow long after you are gone. To serve is not to lower yourself, it is to elevate your humanity. It is to remember that we are not just here to consume, but to contribute, not just to take, but to give, not just to exist, but to make a difference. And when we live in this spirit of service, our lives gain a beauty, a nobility, and a peace that nothing else can provide. Because in the end, the measure of a life well lived is not how much you had, but how much you gave.